Always wants to slip over into slow motion. So have to be careful because then it doesn't work. All right, so this is my favorite triad, ultramarine, Queen Scarlet, and Queen Gold. And we're going to use that entirely to make the bird. This one's not quite finished, but he's almost finished. Cool. So, let's see. In that case, okay, here we go. So we're going to start out light with just wet in wet stuff going on. Okay. I'm going to make a cutoff point here at the head. Not cutting the head off. That's the wrong way to say it. But we're going to work wet in wet all the way down here. Oh, let's look at the color for a minute. So I'm not using pure color. I'm going to be using Queen Gold with, let's make the purple first. I'm going to make a purple, if you want to call it a purple. Looks like that. It's just a grade purple. Let's put some of the Queen Burnt Scarlet into the blue. I've got quite a bit of blue out. I'm going to have to pick up some more scarlet. And then I need to test it. That's about what I'm looking for right there, duh. You know, it just seems to always happen. All right, so let's get a little bit more Queen Burnt Scarlet out here. You need more paint than you think you're going to use, but the point is actually that you're going to be using this on and on, so you're not going to put out too much.
Okay.
I like to squeeze it out and save paint. And then go around with the ugliest nails in town. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to take some of this blue mixture. And I'm going to pull a little of it at a time over into the red. So I would call both of these sort of in the purple range. But let's see now what. I want this to be thin enough too. That should work for me. That should work for me. Now, I'm also going to take some of this purpley color and put a little of it into the gold so that I mute the gold just a little bit. It gets a lot darker too. Okay, here we go. Now, you'll be able to see where the water is because it's not, I don't have totally clean water, but that will help.
And you might want to just check where you are since you moved everything. And
yeah.
Make sure you're happy.
I've got a
okay.
line right here.
Okay.
Thank you, though. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if I get out of place, please say something. I've had people just hold this for me, but besides that the video is not as good, the person holding it misses so much of the demo because they're trying to concentrate on doing the video. So I'm just pulling water, but you see that I'm keeping it, I'm not pulling it all the way to the edges. Now, if you look at him real carefully, he has got some yellows up under here. And I can almost see a little yellow there even. So the thing is that I'm not that interested in reality. So if I get a little more yellow, I just might be happier. So I'm coming along this edge, and of course, I want to touch the water. Whoa, this bird may have a lot of yellow in him by the time I get through. Okay, because again, I'm not going to be overly concerned with reality. Okay, let's just pick up some of one of the purples. I'm using the reddish one right now because it's going next to the yellow, and I think I'll get a little bit better looking color that way. Okay, you see we're still very juicy, and we're keeping the bird light. I can't stress enough about keeping the bird light enough. We got a little bit of an edge there. Okay. Now I'll go over into the blue tone. I hope that looks bluer than I remembered it. Put a little more red in it. You have to be in the right part of the puddle. Okay, well that looks pretty dark. I may have to pull some color up before this is over with. So we'll go on down into the tail a little bit. I am not super concerned with getting to the ends of the tail yet. If I do, let's keep it light. This is reminding me of a turkey right now. So up here at the top, I would like to keep it a little lighter. I've had some people get this area way too dark. So I'm tilting my paper this way and just running water with my dirty brush. Oh, I'm getting a little back run there. I'm perfectly happy with that. If you're working, the wetter you're working, the darker it will seem in relation to how it is when it's dry. Because the more water that's there, it's the water that's making it look darker than it is. So, you know what? I actually like that spot. I'm sorry I took it out, but I did. So, you're going to do that. Then you can take a little brush. I've got a number 6 round. And begin to put some color in the head. Again, this head looks like it's black or something. And let's face it, this bird is never going to be as colorful as this bird. This is a happier bird. We improved on nature. Okay, so we're going to start out with the lighter bluish shade of purple. You need to pay close attention to where these shapes are. Let's start out here. So there are some areas that I really have to pay a lot of attention to. And then you might want to see some of these colors shift. Anytime you have a color shift within an area like that, with those soft edges, it remains a whole. You know, it doesn't look like it's broken up into pieces like a quilt, but at the same time, it's more interesting. So I'll just switch to the red here. And by the way, we have a surprise on this little tail on this critter because he's just not in full plumage yet, and we're going to make him different. You know, I might even leave those little light streaks in there. So let's do that. I don't want to do this yet because I don't want the water there. So let's look at other areas. You know, so now I've moved into doing detail work. Let's get a little more of the blue, I think. Got some little streaks. So you're going to begin to add some detail in here and all along the beak. So you can paint that detail for a while, and by the time you've painted some detail in here, it'll be time to come down here. This will be dry enough. You can come down here and add this part in, and then we will regroup. Okay. So now we're going to start putting in these feathers and the dark shading and the stuff. Okay. So, I've got clean water here. And I'm once again going to wet the body, but you know, you don't have to go quite as far down. Wet up in here. Something like that. Okay, so I'm picking up. Now, y'all promise to be nice. We're on camera. All right. So, let's start Oh, I don't know where I want to start. Let's start right there. So I'm making the end of the feather on dry paper, and then I'm pulling up into wet, the pre-wet area. Let's do that much, okay? And now let's play with it. Be sure you have a paper towel handy. All right, so we're going to play with this. You can make these strokes begin to imitate feathers a little bit. This time I got it pretty wet. I probably should have let it dry just a little bit longer or mopped a little bit of the water up. And you will notice this bird has got light edges on his feathers. I didn't bother with doing that because I thought this was prettier. So, and there are multiple ways to get those light edges, including negatively painting the center. Okay, so we'll do that, and this is coming up a little too smooth. I really want just a little bit of action in here. See, I'm squeezing that brush out and pulling up. So this will be soft, which is good because that's a little bit feather-like. So I'm continuing to squeeze out that brush because this one, I'm working pretty wet. If it was drier, I might even have to add water back in. I don't want to get too caught up in making a few individual feathers there because it'll look too static. You kind of need the individual ends on the main flight feathers, but past that, you're just doing something like this. So let's go ahead and put some tail feathers in. And you can see you've got a whole other set of feathers. In fact, you know, I'm doing a small section at a time. Okay, so maybe I'll not have quite so much water there. All right, here we go. And I think somewhere in here, I want to change colors up a little bit. Let's see, how am I going to do that? The opportunity doesn't seem to be screaming at me. So again, I don't want to just blend this up softly. I want some soft action going in here. Let's just pick up a little bit of the red. Just want a little bit of color change somewhere. Don't want my bird to get boring. Whoop, I'm back over there. Well, oh, better work on that. Well, it's just too neat. It's just too neat. Okay. It's beginning to dry. I tell you what, let's take a smaller brush, because I really like what this one is doing, like right here. So as this begins to dry, you can come back in with a smaller brush and see now as it's drying now this paint is thicker than the surface, and so it's not moving quite so much. So I can make a little bit of action in here. That's a very unfortunate shaped stroke there. And then I'm taking clean water. I definitely want to soften the ends. I want the bird to look like he has feathers, not drips. Okay. So I can kind of do little things like that. And I might come back when he's thoroughly dry and do a little bit more even. On this bird, I think I thought I actually added some blues in here. I did. I'm calling these blues. You know, there's a bluish and a reddish, purplish stuff. So, see, I'm getting a very soft stroke. In fact, the stroke is so soft that I don't need to do anything else to it. On this one, it was a little drier, and I softened some of the ends and things. But here, I worked wet enough, you know. So you always have to adjust to what you've got. But this should give you an idea. That just looks so much better. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You can't leave yet. I'm not letting you leave yet. Let's add some water and let's pull some up. This is just a little too boring. Now I can come back with something more interesting. Probably the best thing would be to wait a little bit, but so I don't want to get caught up with making individual feathers, and the last thing in the world you want to have happen is what I've got right there. You don't want to look like this bird is, like these feathers are outlined. I've had people try to outline them, and it's just a disaster. So I definitely want that to change up there a little bit. So the point is that you kind of have to keep fooling with it a little bit. Just adding a little bit more now that it's a little drier. That's probably enough activity there. But you get the idea. As you work, you can see that, which I have not done with any of my birds, it gets lighter up here, and then you've got a little shadow area there. Mm-hmm. So what I suggest is that, in fact, got that wet a little too high up. I mean, dark a little too high up. So what I suggest is you come along, when this is dry, you come along and you make another series of smaller feathers, maybe with a fine brush, coming up this way. So you get that double division there. The only other thing to talk about, you're looking for excuses to leave some yellow in here. You can see, if you look at your photo real hard, you can find some bits of yellow tone in there. So I added some more. Also, I have seen a picture of the full bird in plume. This is a yellow-headed something heron. I forgot, there's another word in there. So I thought, when I saw it, I still don't have this one correct. The one that I saw, I mean, it could be correct. Depends on the bird. But the thing is that the one I saw had long feathers that came all the way down on his back. You want to make those integrate into the head here. And he could have a couple of them showing. Something like that. So that could be fun. It's hard to get it thin enough. There's that. And then right here, you want to be sure that you put a soft edge on here before you put the darks in. You see, I tried to leave a little bit of, reflected light in here. Give him a little afterglow there. Mm-hmm. And then a soft edge in over here to make his neck feel curved. Okay, you all know what you're doing. Go at it.
Is the eye just the yellow?
Oh, yeah. I didn't talk about the eye and the. I'm sorry. Okay, so I did two things. I went ahead and put this is the yellow mixture. It's not the pure yellow. It's the yellow with the purple in it. But also on the legs, I used this, but I changed color like 3 times on here, on the leg. I doubt that it really makes much of any difference to the viewer, but it made me happy. So I came in here and did that. And I used a little bit of pure Quinn Gold. Which probably won't look that different. It's a little different. A little area here, and then as I came down, and you could do this in layers for that matter, I started using this stuff a little bit on the feet, do a little bit of shading to the foot, and maybe make the foot a little paler, because I think it is in the picture. So I did a little something like that, and then, you know, a little something up in here to show a little bit of shadow or old skin, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. So you could, there's another toe there, but you get the idea. It does a little. I don't have it quite blended well enough, but you want soft transitions in there, but you want it to feel. It just makes just a little more variety in the leg, that's all. So, and the same color in the eye, and that's what I put on the plume. Okay.